Hello, everybody.
Oh, hey, how's it
Welcome
going?
to another Hidden Movie Club after the credits. I am
After the
joined by
credits.
Derek Konofalski.
Hi, everybody.
Unfortunately, Brad will not be joining us.
Brad
He had,
Pipkins.
he had some other matters to attend to, and he couldn't get around to watching Ben-Hur, so he just said, "Sorry, guys, I'm gonna have to
He
sit
didn't
this
have
one
a
out."
free 3 hours and 30 some minutes to dedicate to.
Yeah. Yeah,
No
I watched
surprise.
it. I watched it on Saturday morning because I had nothing better to do.
I watched it with my wife and my mother-in-law, and
Aw,
it was long, but we used the whole overture and the intermission. We made popcorn. We made it a whole thing. It was
hey.
excellent.
Yeah, for those of you watching or listening who haven't seen Ben-Hur, there is a 6+ minute overture at the beginning.
Hmm.
Just a solid backdrop with the words overture
With
and
the
music playing.
God touching Adam's finger from the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah. So you get to see that. I can only imagine because back in the day, that was just allowing more people time to file in and get into their seats and cozy up and
Yeah, well, I
get
imagine they didn't
ready.
have movie trailers back then, so it's not like,
Yeah,
coming soon, Spartacus.
right.
They're just like, hey, get in your seats. You have 6 minutes to get to your seat
Yeah,
and get your
I know
popcorn
because
ready.
I honestly wonder if like they open the doors, and then they're just like, "All right, you got 6 minutes.
Yeah,
Get to
well,
your
they
seats."
probably honestly had like the curtain. It
Yeah,
was probably like the old school where they actually had the curtain open and then that overture title page or whatever comes up. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I
Uh,
can see that.
have you ever seen this movie before? Is this your first time seeing Ben-Hur?
Yeah, this is my first time seeing it all the way
Okay,
through.
same.
Bits and pieces just because of, you know, how it's been in the zeitgeist and culture forever or since 1959.
Yeah.
But yeah, never seen it all the way through.
Okay, same. So, general opinion of the film. Start
Meh.
extremely high level. Extremely high level.
Yeah, I would go kind of middle of the road with my rating. Um, Yeah, it's a lot could have been taken out, but I mean, at the same time, it's from a different era. Things just had a way of taking their time back then, and people just didn't mind because they were just excited to go to a movie theater and see such a grand spectacle in front of their faces. Um, so yeah,
On a scale of 1 to 4 turtles, how many Ninja Turtles do you give Ben-Hur?
yeah, I'd say maybe 1.5.
1.5. Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe two.
My
May-
rating is higher than that, but I have very mixed emotions about this movie, and I think what you just said kind of I would echo that almost exactly. Is I think that it's definitely a product of its time.
Yeah,
I feel like had I been alive and had seen it at the time it was released, it is an impressive feat of filmmaking.
correct.
Um, so yeah, Craig in the chat, yeah, the chariot race, that's incredible, and to the point where it's actually scary to watch the chariot races.
For sure.
Like,
Like, because they're on it, man. They're
yeah,
on the chariots. You
yeah,
can't fake that. I mean, there are a few shots where you could tell it was a stunt double or like probably somebody who could actually take the reins of one of those things. But yeah, for the most part, that's
yeah,
Charlton Heston and that's what's his face, Stephen Boyd Masala.
yeah.
Gosh, yeah, because they're going fast, dude.
Well, on top of it's funny because like as I was watching it, the first thing that impressed me, the chariot race hadn't even started, but when Boyd backs into the spot with the chariot, I was like, that's pretty impressive to get horses to back up like that in the spot. And I was making a joke, like we were watching it, and I turned to Kelly and I was like, it'd be really funny if he came in and like Tokyo drifted into the spot, you know, on the chariot. And then I mean, it's not quite that, but he kind
Sure.
of does that. He kind of like, goes forward and then backs in. I was like, and they show his face the whole time. So it was him. It was him
Yeah.
doing that. And
Yeah.
then, then the actual chariot race happens and there's a lot of close-ups. There's a bunch of places where you can see it's clearly them.
Mhm.
Um, I think it was obvious in a few spots that, there's at least a couple shots where he's obviously on like a car or something pulling the chariot.
Yeah.
That's not the horses when the
Right.
camera's like right there. And then some of the behind scenes, it's obviously not him. And some of the further away scenes, it's not. But there's
Mhm.
a ton of those scenes where you can very clearly see their faces driving those chariots. And that was
Yeah.
mind-blowing. Quite
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
I mean, that's definitely what gives it 2 turtles out of 4 for me, is just the production value alone, because it was an incredible feat,
Yeah.
to have it be that long, to the cinematography to look like that. Apparently, they created for this very movie a completely new camera system that had never been used before.
Was it 3D? No, just kidding.
It could have been, but I mean, yeah, like it was a technical marvel at the time,
Yeah.
and yeah, you can see that a lot of money was spent on just all the technical stuff and the costumes
Hmm.
and yeah, and lots of extras too. I mean, there's so many scenes with bunches of people, and
I pointed that
clearly
out
that's
too.
not CGI crowds.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like one shot where they first show the arena. I don't even think it's at the chariot race, but there's like another Coliseum type shot that they show. And it's
Mhm.
very like, when it's a quick shot, but it's obvious that the whole bottom row is like real people and then the top is just like animated blips because you can't really see what's going on there. But
Yeah, yeah.
um even with that many extras, I multiple times pointed out in the movie how many extras they were using and how many horses they were. It reminded me of our discussion of Lord of the Rings, where it's like, find me 10 horses and some people that can ride it. I could probably manage that. Find me 250 people on horseback that can do all that stuff. No way that's going to happen.
Yeah, and on a small island like New Zealand.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
that's gotta be even harder.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but man.
Very, very impressive scope and scale and everything.
Mhm.
I think I would give it like 3 out of 4 Ninja Turtles rating wise. Maybe like a 77% if I was going percentage wise. I like my 70s when I'm not sure about a movie because
Right.
I feel like it's very clearly not a bad film, but there are just things that like
Yeah,
while I was watching it, I was like, this is so weird. This is one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. And especially
yeah,
again, but probably very much so a product of its time. But the first time I said WTF was the overture. When the overture first started, I was like,
yeah,
this is still going? Still going. Okay.
yeah. I mean, yeah, because I was, like, 30 seconds into the overture, I was like, "Huh," and I just skipped ahead just like 10 because, in 10-second increments, and then it was still going, and I was like, "Oh, well, maybe I should do 30-second increments?" Still
Mhm.
going. A minute? And I was so, yeah, it just kept going. So that was a choice, but yeah, again, yeah, like, how many other movies around that time did the exact same thing? Probably a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, and I think, I know people could probably compare stuff like Ben-Hur to the Ten Commandments. We
Mhm.
mentioned Spartacus a little bit earlier, but I don't remember Ten Commandments having an overture, but now I'm almost positive that it had to have an overture of some sort.
Yeah.
Won 11 Oscars, Craig says in chat. 11 Oscars. Not that surprised at all.
Yeah, for something like that back then,
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think.
Direction especially feels very meticulous.
Mhm.
It feels very well crafted. The set design is really, really good. I noticed that was one of the things that was very, very weird to me, was especially right when the movie started. It kind of starts with Mary and Joseph coming in to Bethlehem from Nazareth or
Right.
whatever, and they're riding in, and it's like Joseph has like a Boston accent or like a New England accent, and then like some of the other people, they're very clearly wearing like Arabic, like Middle Eastern type clothing,
Right.
but yet they speak with like a Shakespearean British accent, and I'm like, this is very odd to watch this in hindsight.
Yeah.
But again, if we had watched it when it was released, it probably, no big deal, not
Yeah.
anything to worry about or even think about at all.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have phased the audience at all. They're just
Yeah.
like, "Yee, Charlton Heston, woo."
Yeah. Although I don't, it surprises me now, not to jump in the controversial thing, but I don't ever want to hear somebody complain about the fact that Snape is a black man now, because like this
I
whole movie
know,
is like
right?
an example of, it's all just kind of whitewashed. So,
Uh-huh.
but it is what it is. I mean, again, product of
Yeah.
its time, so I can't complain too much. But
And I remember, again, because I've never seen it before all the way through, I I knew that it had something to do with the story of Christ to some degree.
the Christ, sir.
Yes, the Jesus Christ. But yeah, I didn't realize like basically the entire movie takes place over the span of Christ's entire life. Like it's just totally adjacent.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that
yeah,
was actually, I think, the weirdest part of the movie. Now, I realized that it was made. Um, so you introduced me to that. What was the podcast called? I can't think of it
what
now.
went wrong?
What went wrong? The What Went Wrong episode on Ben-Hur mentions a couple things about the production of the movie. But
Mhm.
one of the things that I found weird is that they said that it was based on a book at the time, because the studio MGM had a bunch of star power and they were almost exclusively looking for movies that had existing IP, books, plays, things that they already knew. And they were really trying to find as much of that as possible to stick with the religious epics that were popular of the time.
Yes.
And so Ben-Hur was kind of like a natural pickup for them. But
Mhm.
as we're watching the movie, I couldn't help but think about how it felt like a movie that wanted to be a movie about the story of Jesus, but ended up being like a Forrest Gump style, like he just happens to be in the exact place of every major historical event, and
Yeah.
every major historical event that occurs in the life of Jesus is like this weird side character. It's like, so, you know, I would say one of my favorite books and movies of all time is The Count of Monte Cristo. So I love revenge
Mhm.
stories. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Love revenge stories a lot. But it's very weird to me that this is like a revenge story wrapped in a Jesus story. You know,
Yeah.
like it has some weird undertones that are present all throughout because of that. And I
Mhm.
don't really understand that as like a creative decision to tell this story. I feel like they could have told that story completely without Jesus in there, because there's only really a few things that Gump was the Jesus. No, uh, no. I think Ben-Hur was like the Jesus that just happened to be in the right place at the right time to like tell the story of Jesus, and that's weird to me. It's very weird because it
Yeah.
was like it almost felt like they wanted to tell a Jesus story, but we're gonna do it in a roundabout way.
Mhm. I know, I thought it was interesting the choice they made to basically never show Jesus's
Hmm.
face. Like he was just this, mysterious
Yeah,
entity. Like when he gave water to Judah Ben-Hur, and it's just the back of him. Um, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Like, huh. And even I don't know if you remember this, but even in the wide shot of when they're showing towards the end of the movie, when they're showing Christ, um, basically being judged by the Romans, and he's like in the middle of the town square or whatever, surrounded by people. There's like this black, it's not even like a shadow. It just looks like something they probably added in post just to cover his face. And it was, I don't know, kind of, it looked weird to me because it looked like it didn't look natural at all.
I also noticed that, if I'm not mistaken, unless I missed it in the credits, because by that point we were super tired, so it's very possible that it was in there somewhere. But I don't think that Jesus was credited in the credits of the movie, the guy that played Jesus. And I'm guessing that's because he doesn't really have any lines. He doesn't say anything.
Right.
But that also felt like a very weird choice to me, to not have Jesus say anything, because he interacts with Judah multiple times.
Right.
But doesn't say anything. Craig says saving his sisters was a big part of the story. I disagree. I don't know. Like, to me, that whole subplot could have been cut out and it would have been fine. I agree that if we need to keep that part of the story in there, with his mom and sister being cured of leprosy, that needs to be in there somehow, because you can't really cure leprosy. But even before then, the whole time I was like, I was expecting them to take his sister and mom to Jesus somewhere, because there's multiple times where they, people mention like, oh yeah, this guy Jesus he's in the town square or whatever. Played by Jesus as himself. The movie's not that old, Brosinko. It's not that old. But yes. But I felt like they could have, just taken him to meet Jesus in one of those places. It actually multiple times reminded me of two movies. Number one, Sister Act. There's that part where they're singing the song and they're doing like a skit in front of them, and they're like, Hail Mary, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh, Jesus, he's such a cool dude, or whatever. And like, I felt like multiple times in Ben-Hur that it was just like, hey, there's a hip, radical, peace-loving dude in town. Like, we need to go meet him. Oh, yeah? What's his name? It's Jesus. And then that reminds me of Hamlet 2, the Rock Me Sexy Jesus. Please tell me you've seen Hamlet 2, Elin.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's what we're doing for Double Take next week. Loosely related, because Jesus is in it. kind of. But there's a song in the movie Hamlet 2 called Rock Me Sexy Jesus. And it starts kind of same way like that. Like, hey, have you seen Jesus? He's so cool. It's very much like that.
How old is that movie? Hamlet 2?
That's a great question. It's not very old because Steve Coogan is in it.
Oh.
It's a comedy. It's not 2008.
No. 2008. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
not very old.
That just flew under the radar for me. I don't even realize that came out.
And also nothing to do with Hamlet, so
Of course.
Yeah, but there's like several different parts of Ben-Hur that I was like, it even reminded me in a few places, like it feels like a religious Marvel movie in a few ways, where like because Marvel likes to do the like little Easter egg name drops for fans that are like really paying attention,
Yeah.
And like this one is very much, they don't show Jesus's face or whatever, but they're also like, oh, who's this guy? Why, I'm Pontius Pilate. No other context needed,
Right.
And then it's like, it's like when they, off camera in a Marvel movie are like, oh yeah, we heard about this story about a big green hulking monster in New York.
Right.
I wonder who that could be. Just kind of teasing those characters or whatever happens a few times in the movie.
Yeah, because then all the fanboys, point at the screen. Oh,
yeah.
I know who they're talking about.
Insert the Leo gif.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. And I mean those are really, I think, to me, were the weakest parts of the movie. Is I didn't mind that it was a story about Jesus, I guess, but the way that they incorporated that felt really weird. It almost it felt like it would have been just fine as just like a revenge story, and honestly probably would have cut down like an hour's worth of the runtime to just play it more of like a Count of Cristo straight revenge story. And
Mhm.
then it would have been cool maybe to just culminate on the Jesus thing, and then everybody could have pointed at their screens, you know. But
Right.
I was half expecting. Have you ever seen The Greatest Story Ever Told?
No.
It's movie runs for a couple hours too. I don't think it's quite as long as Ben-Hur or whatever. But at the end, they have Jesus's crucifixion, and then John Wayne steps out as a Roman soldier and is like, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." And it's like,
Oh,
why John Wayne? Like that's
yeah.
almost as bad as him playing Genghis Khan, but it's just kind of
Right.
like stepped up there and was like, why did they do that? They didn't need to do that, and it's odd to me that they made that choice.
For the fans.
Yeah, for John Wayne fans, apparently.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of, how did you feel about Charlton Heston, acting wise, and especially compared or contrasted to the other performances in the movie?
Um, I mean, I don't think he was the best part of it, but I think he did a pretty good job. Um,
Who was the
I,
best part of it for you?
probably Masala.
Okay, I
Um,
agree. I actually agree wholeheartedly with that too.
because
Interesting.
I mean, like, I don't know, just something in Masala's eyes, and it means it just seemed like to me that he really had that character down, and like he was embodying Masala.
Hmm.
Where but I mean, again, harkening back to or shouting out once again the What Went Wrong podcast, they even said that like after dailies and stuff, Charlton, or before he was even shooting the movie, Charlton Heston thought he was the wrong choice, and he was very self-conscious pretty much the entire shoot, because also he wasn't getting any notes from the director when he's, you know, trying to act his heart out and like asking if there's anything else that the director needs from him. Maybe they can do it again. And the director would just be like, no, it's good enough. Let's move on. So, like, he was just kind of in this constant state of panic.
Panic and paranoia.
Yeah, just not knowing if he was actually giving the performance that was necessary or needed at that moment. And yeah, it was kind of a strange, the on-set atmosphere was very strange. He felt very isolated
Yeah, which
doing that.
I get that because by all accounts, everything that I've read about the director William Wyler, he was incredibly like methodical, and part of the reason why the studio picked him is because he was very like detail oriented with these big
Mhm.
epic movies to get the shots that that he wanted to get. And I even read somewhere that they like their typical shooting day for him, for the director, was like 16 hours, almost like Ninja Turtles. What's her face, not Paige Turco, the Judith Hogue was
Mhm.
complaining about, that they were like 12
Yeah.
plus hour. I think in this case in Ben-Hur was 16-hour days, 6 days a week with only Sundays off, and it took them like almost 3/4 of the year to shoot or something like that. 9 or 10 months, I
Yeah.
think, is what I heard. So to not get notes from a director that is like so present for every day of the shoot for longer than some of the actors, who is so methodical and so detail oriented, and then just to have him be like, yeah, yeah, it was great. Like,
Yeah.
I would probably be self-conscious too.
Yeah. No kidding.
And I also, I feel like I'm going to keep mentioning this because it bears repeating, but the whole product of its time thing, I
Mhm.
don't really think Charlton Heston is that great of an actor. In fact, in this film specifically, there's a ton of scenes where I feel like he's just chewing up scenery because he's taking so long to deliver these lines.
Right.
He's got that like grimace on his face all the time, and it's
Mhm.
fine, but I think that stems from the John Wayne, like
Yeah.
masculine hero, male figure, that he's like the star of the movie. So they want to give him a bunch of time. Whereas, who's Masala Boyd? Stephen Boyd? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Uh,
Hold on. Yeah. Stephen Boyd.
So, like his performance felt more real to me, where it was like
Mhm.
he actually felt like he portrayed that person. But Judah is just like constantly chewing scenery and just constantly like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on. You know, for
Yeah.
everything, even their conversations together felt so unnatural because you have Boyd's Masala being like, you know, there's a quote that he said somewhere in the middle of their conversation where he's like, you know, gods no, like we're our own gods, like we have our own all
Right.
the Roman gods or whatever. And then, you know, it just sounds very conversational, very natural but passionate. And
Mhm.
then Charlton Heston comes in and he's like, the only god that I blah 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 or whatever. And it's like, oh my
Right.
God, man. Like every
Why
single
would
one.
I betray my people?
Yeah. And the scene, you know, the like when he first Esther tells him not to go try and see his mother and his sister in
Yeah.
the Valley of the Lepers or whatever, and he kind of like hides behind a rock and he's just very like it's almost like an over the top characterization that I feel like I normally would associate with like the damsels in distress in these older movies
Yeah.
where he's like, oh,
Right.
I can't see them. I must see them though, but I can't because they asked me not to come. It's like,
Right.
geez, oh Pete, buddy, like lay off.
And yet he goes and sees him anyway. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, yeah. I actually thought the woman that played Esther did a fantastic job. Haya Hararit. I've never heard of her. I don't know any other
Yeah.
films that she's been in. I thought she did a fantastic job. Um, yeah. Jack Hawkins as Quintus Arias was really, really good.
Mhm.
Um, Hugh Griffith as Sheik Ilderim was
He was
a
cool.
choice. A choice. The brown face
Well,
or whatever that
yes.
was is
Yeah.
very very odd.
I know. I liked his performance, but yeah, just making him into a sheik, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, again, just a product of its time.
I don't even I guess I didn't even care so much about the fact that they did that. I get that like culturally it's probably insensitive and all that stuff, but the
Mhm.
thing that just bothered me the most is that it just didn't look natural. So he just like stood
Yeah.
out as like this dude wearing makeup amongst a bunch of people that are and the weird part is that there's people in the background of several scenes that like you couldn't just take that guy and you know it's not like he has that many lines or that big of a part in the movie. I mean, I guess he has a pretty substantial part in the movie, but
Yeah.
was very, very interesting the way that that whole thing was cast and acted by all the various performers.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, now that you mention it, yeah, just the various performances that are going along or going on at the same time just kind of made it feel a little bit discombobulated.
Hmm.
It's like, who's acting in which movie here? You know,
Yeah,
like how are these different portrayals existing in one cohesive story? Because it, yeah, made it feel a little awkward at times.
yeah. What would you say is your favorite part of the movie? And then I'll ask you what do you think is the worst part of the movie afterwards, but not related to any of the acting, but maybe just focusing on like production or the story or the writing, cinematography, that kind of stuff.
Mhm. I mean, clearly, I don't know. Like, I know at the time, like you said, they were optioning a lot of historical slash religious stories. That was just the thing at that very moment in Hollywood. That's what sold tickets, got seats and got butts and seats.
Got seats
Uh,
and butts.
the seats and the butts.
Ah!
And so you know, I get that the reasoning behind including the whole Jesus story with this particular Ben-Hur story of revenge, but it kind of also makes me think like they probably had the chariot race very early on in development, and they were just trying to find a way to build around it.
Well, again, it's based on a book, though. I wonder if the book tells the story the same way,
Yeah.
because it's not like they were writing a story for this movie. And I think the screenwriter of the movie also might have done Ten Commandments and some of those older
Mm,
religious epics. I remember
mm,
in that What Went Wrong podcast, they mentioned a little bit about the screenwriting.
yeah.
So maybe that, but
Yeah, because I honestly wonder if, maybe somebody had read Ben-Hur and then kind of remembered that there was this amazing chariot race in
hmm.
this book, and maybe they kind of led with that, like, dude, there's this chariot race and it's super cool,
Bro, it is
and
sweet. Okay.
if we got that on screen, that would look incredible. So,
And pull in, don't be jealous because I filmed the chariot race, the best chariot race of all time ever seen on film.
because even the chariot race, because those new cameras that they built just for this movie apparently were absolutely gigantic. So that was another incredible feat that they even filmed the chariot race the way that they did, because they also had to deal with these cumbersome, heavy, brand new, film
Yeah,
cameras that
didn't
they
they
had
like
never
wreck one of
used.
them? Wasn't it like $60,000 just for one
Yeah,
camera? And like one of them got hit. I don't remember what point, but apparently there was like a hit in the arena and they barreled right into it.
yeah. So that's definitely my favorite part, is the chariot race, which I could imagine that's probably the favorite part of anybody. Because even not having seen Ben-Hur until watching it for this podcast, I still
You knew
knew
about the
about the
chariot.
chariot
Yeah.
race. That's pretty much all I knew, really.
It's like the standout from it for sure.
Yeah. So like, because yeah, if I picture Ben-Hur in my mind, I picture the chariot race. Um, and honestly, it for the longest time, I got Spartacus and Ben-Hur mixed up, because I saw the chariot race in my head, but I saw Kirk Douglas's face. Until later on when I actually, found out the truth. But yeah, for the longest time growing up, that's what I thought. Um, but yeah, that's definitely my favorite part, just because, gosh, it must have been, I don't even know, I don't even remember how long it must have taken, because I'm sure they mentioned it in the What Went Wrong podcast, but um gosh, it might have taken a month just to film the chariot race, because it was,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's funny because my favorite part of the movie, I would say, is probably the chariot race too. But I'll put that aside just because that was yours also, and I do think that for most people, it probably is the standout of the movie.
Mhm.
What I appreciated more than that, though, is they obviously spent a ton of time and money on that chariot race. So
Mhm.
my quote unquote second favorite part of the movie is the production magic that they did to film a bunch of the rest of the movie. I loved
Yeah.
the ship scenes, even though you
Yeah.
could tell they were miniatures with the little
Right.
figurines on it and stuff.
Yep.
Super cool how they filmed those and how they gave it a sense of scale way bigger than it was by combining different, shots and different plates from different sections. The way
Mhm.
I think I can't tell, I don't know for sure, but I think they even used some rear projection of the miniatures in a few of the scenes with
Mm.
Ben-Hur, and when they're about to get wrecked or whatever, and the boat is going to ram into them. And they show a couple shots where they like run up to the top of the ship, and it's like them with the boats having cannons and smoke everywhere in the back, and it's
Mhm.
like they obviously didn't have those boats for real. So this is some like compositing blue screen, matting
Yeah.
magic that they did back in the day. um but it was, a ton of that stuff production wise that is really 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 impressive. I don't know if how much of it was shot in location, but there's a bunch of like castles that were very clearly sets that
Right.
fit seamlessly in with the like exposition shots showing like the outside of locations. The whole
Mhm.
Valley of the Lepers, that was really impressive. And
Yeah.
it wasn't even that big of a deal. It was probably just like a location that they scouted and were like, yeah, this works. But I loved that it had like the nice little spiral going down through the
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah, it did.
um, there's a ton of those little things that I really really appreciated because it's clear that they didn't have as much money for the rest of the movie as they had for the chariot race. So
Yes.
anytime you can balance that to where the cheap parts of the movie don't severely weigh down the expensive parts of the movie, I
Mhm.
think you got to give some kudos for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because just that look, that, like, Technicolor, super widescreen, you know, colors popping
Was it
look.
Panavision? I didn't even check. Is that what it was called?
Maybe? Yeah, I think it might have
I
been
don't
like a
remember.
like a modified Panavision something, something, something. Um,
It is a beautiful movie, though. I will say that.
yeah.
The colors, somebody in the comment, yeah, Craig in the comments or in the chat mentioned the colors. Very, very nice color. Just a really, really good use of the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Especially in a time when you couldn't really color grade the way that we can now. Like
Right.
to be able to capture that the way that they captured it is incredible.
Yeah, just everything has to be in camera, basically.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and you gotta set it up that way. Like, yeah, just pre-production. Pre-production alone was probably just mind-boggling. Um, just again, just something of its time that was like, yeah, if I would have seen it in 1959, I definitely would have been blown away.
Yeah.
Seeing it on
Same.
this big old, Panavision screen, like, holy cow. Because, back then, this was one of the few forms of entertainment you could see anyway. I mean, in 1959, TVs were still relatively new, I think. So I don't think a lot of households had a TV yet. So going out to the movie theater and seeing Ben-Hur was just the thing you did. And yeah, that would have been a pretty cool sight to see. And just to see the reaction of people around you too.
Yeah, especially back in the day, like several
Mhm.
of the scenes reminded me of, in Ten Commandments, also with Charlton Heston, like the parting of the Red Sea in that movie, still to this day makes me just like sit there in awe thinking about how that would have been received back in the day when that movie came out. To see
Mhm.
that on a big screen with a bunch of people would have been incredible. And like,
Yeah.
imagine seeing a chariot race like this and all the shots of the chariot's wheel, like that little blade or whatever it is, the
Right.
thing like carving into those wheels and seeing the guys dragged behind them and like, wow, just absolutely wow.
Yeah. 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 It must have, I mean, no doubt why it won so many Academy Awards too. Because an epic like this, maybe there was one other one that same year. Or because I mean, what was its competition in 1959? Because yeah, it just
I
seems
don't
like kind
even
of a
know.
no-brainer putting this much effort, this much money into this epic movie that it's definitely going to win all the awards.
Yeah, I actually I want to look up. I'm trying to find it on IMDb. Don't they usually have a place where all the awards are listed? Why am I oh, there it is.
Yeah.
11 Oscars. Let's see what it won for. Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Charlton Heston. Disagree. Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Hugh Griffith. Best Director, Best Writing, Screenplay based on material from another medium. Best Cinematography, Robert Surtees. That's well
Mhm.
deserved.
Yeah.
Best Art Direction, Set Decoration, and Color. Also agree with those three. Best Costume Design. Yep. Best Sound. Um, that's actually funny because the sound That was the hardest thing I had to get over. There's a lot of ADRing in this movie,
Yeah.
obviously, but it was like distracting to me. But I think the only reason for that is because of modern sensibilities and like how good audio is nowadays.
Mhm.
Because there's a scene with Marcella where they're, it's maybe like the first time they meet again or something like that, but they're in this like little wooden slash stone room that you can tell is a set, and I couldn't get
Mhm.
over it. There's like this crazy like damp reverb that keeps happening to their voice, but then
Um,
Charlton Heston or Judah's voice is like super clear, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
so they filmed him or recorded him on set, but his is ADR'd afterwards. It's like a weird
Right.
mishmash.
Yeah. Yeah. um, but again, like again, it probably won because of the chariot race, because it seemed like, the rumbling of the hooves on the ground and all the different components sonically that have to come together to do a chariot race. Because obviously, you're not going to probably record anything on set
Mm-hmm.
because it's probably going to come out terribly. So they probably had to, lay over everything about that chariot race
That was
in
filmed
post.
completely silent. Yeah, that was completely silent. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm trying to think if I noticed it, but there's no way that the actual sound of the horse's hooves and the crowds and any of that would have made for any usable audio. I wouldn't be
No.
surprised if they filmed that completely silently and added all of that sound in post.
Yeah. They're just like, we don't need any audio techs on set for this next bit here.
No,
You can all
seriously.
just go home uh, and come back in a month when we're done with this chariot race. But yeah, yeah. Thanks, Craig. 146 million dollars back then is what it made, which is a
$1 billion.
billion. $100 million.
Yep. Okay. Here it is. It's on IMDb, of course, in the trivia. The chariot race was shot MOS without sound. This was added
Mhm.
in post production when the decision was made to not have any music throughout the sequence.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
I that was a good choice too.
Yeah. Agreed wholeheartedly.
Yeah, because that would have just been a little too chaotic. It was already chaotic, so that would have just been a little bit too unbearable to have
Hmm.
that layered on top of everything else.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm just thinking about because so much of this movie you have to remember the time period and it was made. This
Yeah,
isn't something where they had Final Cut or, Adobe where they can Premiere or whatever it's called, where they can layer all these audio tracks on there. I
right,
mean, they're literally taking a tape, recording to another tape, putting that same tape back in so that they can record the next sound effect over that tape. There's
right.
like a bunch of multi-tracking that they have to do to mix down into what they're getting. I can't even imagine trying to mix down orchestration into a single, tape and then get that orchestration in with the rest of the sound effects that they had to cut in and splice in and everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. Have you ever used a reel-to-reel player at all? Have you ever had to like actually splice tape before?
No. Oh
It's
wait,
wild. It's
maybe I
wild.
did at Crass. Maybe.
My dad taught me how to do that. He used to work in a studio, recording studio in Detroit. So we had reel-to-reel
Mhm.
players in our basement, and he would show you like, oh, you need to cut this out. You pop it in the little. Yeah, that was fun. I just can't imagine doing that for a film of this size with that many sound effects, that many plates for the
Mhm.
actual video. Like,
Yeah.
insane, absolutely insane.
And even I was curious too, the at the beginning when they show the Star of Bethlehem just kind of
Hmm.
going across the sky and then the light coming down.
The
Even
circle, it's
even
just like
that.
a halo. It's just like a star
Yeah.
with a halo. I think I made the
Oh.
joke while we were watching. I was like, "Oh, look, it's Tinkerbell."
Yeah. Because even that I was like, huh, I wonder how they did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Honestly, that was probably like painted, right? It would have had to have been.
Well, I bet the back, yeah, it was probably, matte paintings. Maybe they had like a miniature set or something as some of the foreground, but then like a matte painting background, and then
No. It's I think that the scenery, well, it might be a set, but I think the scenery is filmed. I mean, I think they filmed it underexposed, and then somebody literally had to go through and like paint that light shaft from the star, like paint it out
oh,
to put it on a lighter background, like essentially like a opacity mask or something
yeah,
to make it lighter behind it. Because yeah, I mean, I don't know how else would they have done it back then.
right.
Did they even have the camera printers that like Disney had back in 1959 where you could like
Oh
stack
wow,
footage?
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Because that would
Yeah,
have been like what a cell, or the film in one part, and then the
mhm.
plate on top of that would have been like a light whitewash with some white paint over it to just lighten up, and then you refilm each frame from there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, yeah, because like I said, even something as that seems simple, like the Star of Bethlehem, was, yeah, probably a fairly complicated process. So I'm curious to know how they pulled that off.
Now you got me thinking. Yeah, I even liked with the miniatures, going back to that a little bit. I really like the construction of all the ships, the
Yeah,
chariots. The construction of the chariots is like incredible, especially when there's some scenes in the chariot race that you can tell some of the chariots are like riding chariots, and then they obviously had to make a couple more that were like the destructible chariots, so
yeah,
that when they did get hit or whatever, they exploded in this huge fantastic way.
right. I know. I even liked it in the ship battle sequence, that the shot where one of the ships comes and flanks the other one and like kind of destroys the oars like
Hmm.
as it's going. I was like, oh, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, even the little
Because
cannon hits or whatever, the little catapults with
Mhm.
there's the one scene where it's like showing the aftermath, and you see these little like smoke trails, and you could tell you're miniatures, but again, probably back in the day, that was probably mind blowing to people seeing that in the
Yeah,
theater.
yeah,
Just absolutely crazy.
yeah. Just seeing those little fireballs going. Wee,
Hmm.
wee,
Yeah,
wee, wee.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool the way they did it. I can't
Yeah,
even imagine trying to put the budget package together for that, to be like, this is how much money we need to film this chariot scene. We've got, let's say they spent $100 million on the chariot scene. You got $46 million to make the rest of this entire movie.
yeah. Like, oh, okay.
Oh, this is hilarious. I'm gonna touch on, before we got on live, we were talking about something, but I just saw this out of the corner of my eye on the IMDb trivia list when I looked up the no sound effect thing. It says
Yeah,
it's the only Hollywood film to make the Vatican approved film list for the category of religion.
really.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting to me, because before we got on, we were talking about how, well, I guess maybe no, you mentioned it. I just was agreeing, but I think during the movie I saw how homoerotic some of the scenes are. Like
Yeah,
the Masala Judah relationship felt very like more like they were lovers than it felt like they were best friends that had grown up together.
right.
It was very, very odd.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, the What Went Wrong podcast kind of touches on this, that like Masala, or yeah, Stephen Boyd, from the director, was given a direction to play the role as if he liked Judah Ben-Hur, or they had a past relationship, or hoped that it would become more than just a buddy relationship. So that's kind of how he portrays it, because
That's very interesting.
that's what the director had, that's the notes that he had given him.
Yeah, especially with you saying that he didn't really give Charlton Heston notes and that was frustrating to him. That seems even funnier to me because
Yeah.
it's like very apparent to me when watching the movie, which makes it odd that the Vatican would be like, "Yep, this is great. Like
Hmm.
go for it, guys. This is the best religious movie of all time."
Yeah. I mean, I honestly wonder if they would kind of revisit how often do they revisit things that are
Yeah,
approved or unapproved, and if they watched it now, would they approve it once more?
it was
Who
removed
knows?
from the list afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Panavision. Okay, yeah. When the film students are the chariot race was filmed in full 70 millimeter ultra Panavision.
Ultra.
Ultra 2.761 ratio.
Jeez. Yeah, that is some thick black
Scope.
bars.
Scope.
Yeah, man.
Okay, what else? Any other parts of the movie that stood out to you? Anything else that you feel like is
Um,
worthy of
I
mention?
I just want to mention because I texted this to you and Brad today, but just the fact that like again, sign of the times, this masculine man um courting the
Yeah.
woman that he loves, Esther, but is they can't really do anything about it because it's their relationship is doomed from the start, but I at least want to let you know that I love you. And
You are a
because
bride.
yeah, like pretty much every scene that they have where it's just the two of them, it always just kind of swells. Like the orchestra or the score is just kind of very soft and very light, because there's a feminine presence in this scene.
Hmm.
And then it just kind of swells and gets larger and larger until Charlton Heston grabs Esther in his arms and gives her a wet, sloppy kiss. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. And obviously the kiss is way too long. And
Yeah. There was one scene where like it almost seemed like they didn't want to show them kissing.
mhm,
Where he like grabs her and like puts her down and they're kind of like in this like weird claw shaped
right.
embrace or whatever, but they showed them kissing later in the movie, so I don't even know
Yeah.
why that was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be like a product of the times, because now that I'm thinking about it, like even William Shatner in Star Trek, like the way that they would grab the women and then like kiss
Right.
them, it feels very much like that same vibe. John
Mhm.
Wayne, all those super macho guys
Right.
from back in the day. Like I don't know why they can't just kiss them. I don't know why they gotta like grab them very forcefully and
Yeah.
then bring them
It's
towards
always
them,
like
but.
with a bit of anger behind
Yeah,
it, you know?
chicks dig it, man. Chicks
Yeah.
just want somebody to just grab them. Napoleon, chicks really dig a strong, confident man.
Yeah.
Um,
Pull me in, baby.
yeah, that was quite odd. That was quite odd.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I'm trying to think of what else.
Uh, Great question. Yeah, I mean, it was just too long.
Yeah,
A lot of it could have been cut out. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's when it is released in 1959, you just want to keep the attention of an audience as long as possible, probably. And then that word of mouth spreads and is the greatest epic film of the year, and you should go see it, and you should go see it. Um, but yeah, just looking at it through adult lenses and also 2026 lenses. Yeah, the pacing. Wow.
yeah. But again, pacing back then was much slower in general.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
actually think that's one of the things that my wife and I recently rewatched a lot of Hitchcock's movies, and I feel like that's the biggest improvement that was made in a lot of these movies is that Hitchcock's pacing is better than a lot of these older
Yeah,
movies. And it feels like when he lingers on something, he's lingering on it for a reason. Whereas like in
correct.
these types of movies, they linger on stuff all the time or they keep shots all the time. They have to give extra time for Charlton Heston to be able to deliver his lines.
Right.
as slowly as he possibly can.
Right.
So that also adds to the runtime. I would hate to edit this movie too, because honestly, like I
Yeah.
said, I probably would have edited it into a much tighter Count of Monte Cristo style revenge movie and just kind of nixed some of the other plot lines or other parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But again, it was, pressure from the studio, of course. Be like, you have to have the religious stuff in there. It's just what we do right now. All the religious movies are making big bucks.
big buckaroos.
Yeah.
I also found it funny because there's like the scene at the end of the movie where his wife or his mom and sister are cured of their leprosy because they're
Mhm.
standing in water that has Jesus's blood in it or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know why, but it immediately reminded me of like if that movie, if the movie was made in modern times or like written in modern times, filmed in modern times, I would have expected to see like a Man of Steel type scene where the government steps in and is like, "This guy's blood cures leprosy. Get him!"
Yeah.
You know, hook him up to like a Weapon X style machine where they're just
Uh-huh.
like draining him of all his blood. It's, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. If it can be monetized, it's gonna happen nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. Charlton Heston was Catholic too, right?
I believe so.
Charlton Heston.
What religion? What
Yeah.
faith?
I'm
Yeah.
just curious because he's kind of
Mm.
made a career off of playing like Jewish, classically Jewish Bible hero figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Christian. I don't think it gets more specific than that. Well,
Catholic.
okay, at least a Christian. He wasn't Jewish, so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Said a lot of interesting things. So yeah, I
William
don't.
Wyler coined the famous joke that it took a Jew to make a good film about Jesus. That's funny, William. That's funny.
Haha.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's all I got because I wasn't. Again, I was impressed with this with a movie of this scale to have been created
Mm-hmm.
back in 1959. Very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's just very dated. It's got
Animal
dated.
cruelty.
Yeah. For sure.
It's
I
got
mean,
animal cruelty and brown face.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, not exactly the greatest thing to recommend nowadays, but I unless you haven't seen it, like we hadn't seen it previous to this
Mm-hmm.
episode, sure. If you just need to see it for just to see it for the first time for yourself, go right ahead. I'd recommend it.
Yeah,
Just
same.
because it is a classic. It definitely won all the Academy Awards in 1960. But yeah, if you're just gonna cross off a list of the classics, then yeah, sure. This should definitely be on that list.
You know what's funny is that you bring up like an interesting dilemma that I have when watching these types of movies because it's happened to me a few times where I'll see a movie that's like renowned for being a classic or just, it's part of like the historical context of filmmaking because some of these movies made such a big impact or a big splash on the whole industry. I think I
Mhm.
would consider Ben-Hur one of those movies. So the conflict I have is I would 100% recommend this movie to anybody that had never seen it before to get that historical context to see that movie.
Yeah.
However, when I think about watching the movie, I did not purchase Ben-Hur when we watched. Well, I guess I did, but the digital copy. I normally
Yeah.
buy the physical copy, the Blu-ray or the 4K or whatever
Yeah.
when if I know I'm going to watch a movie again, I always buy the physical copy
Right.
because I like to support, in a capitalist society, you know, you vote with your wallet. And so when there's a movie that I see multiple times, I want to vote with my wallet. I want to support the people that make it, that produce it, that distribute it, all of the above. I
Right.
don't know if I'm gonna buy Ben-Hur.
Yeah, because groove.com, they had the steel book, and it was really cool. It was very, very simple. It was just a black steel book with the words Ben-Hur on it.
I saw that actually. I
And
saw
yeah,
that.
I was very tempted, but I'm glad I didn't get it, honestly.
Yeah, and how much was that? Probably like $50, $60,
No,
maybe.
they're when you pre-order a steel book,
Oh,
it
it's not
typically,
out yet.
oh, well, at the time,
Oh, okay.
because it was a few months ago when the pre-order email hit my inbox, and it was, yeah, 30. Their prices are typically 37.95 for steel books when they first come out, so not too bad.
20
Um,
bucks for the 4K Blu-ray, not the Steelbook, but just the regular Blu-ray. I might pick it up for 20 bucks or $9 for the regular Blu-ray.
hmm,
I might buy it for that.
yeah,
Just to have, because again, it's like a historical piece of filmmaking.
right.
It's really impressive. It's really great. Um, so that might be worth it for me to pick
I
up.
mean, you could, and you make a great point. Maybe I should also get the Blu-ray copy, just so I have the chariot race to be
Mm-hmm.
able to just pull that up if I wanted to.
Yeah.
If I have some grandiose home theater or something later on, I'm like, check this out. That would be a pretty cool thing to show. Although it's probably in, I don't know, stereo, not surround sound,
Yeah, maybe.
considering the times. So that would be my
I
guess.
wonder. I'm sad that Brad couldn't be here today because I wonder how he would have felt about the sound mix, because like the mix on the copy that I had, even though it wasn't the disc version,
Mhm.
the Fandango at home is how I got it.
Yeah.
Their version is an Atmos, Dolby Vision and Atmos 4K
Really?
video. Yeah, and so obviously like somebody had to go and remix that and do all the positional audio
Oh man.
portions of it, and I wonder if they did that or not, or if they just presented it in stereo. Let's see what the back
Yeah.
of the Blu-ray
I know.
doesn't even say. It just says DTS, Dolby Digital.
Oh man. Yeah, I wonder if, because if the digital version is Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, then I can only assume that the steelbook that just came out of Ben-Hur is
I mean,
also.
it had the little icons.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going by. I don't know for certain that is, but it has the little icons for Dolby Vision and Atmos.
Well, Blu-ray.com should have the audio specs.
Okay, yeah, the back of the Blu-ray says Dolby Vision Atmos, but
Oh.
that's the 4K. The 4K says Dolby Vision Atmos.
Oh, right.
So I'm curious what that mixing process went through.
Yeah. Yeah, it does say Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, native 4K.
Okay.
Oh,
Huh.
wait a minute. This is that redo. Is it? Oh no, it's the 1959. Okay, never mind. Because there have been several um, redos on this
Yeah,
movie.
there was one
As
before. There was one before 1959.
oh yeah, that's right.
Because the What Went Wrong podcast actually mentions that some of the people that made that first version were brought in to work on this 1959 version.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I hope that they include the regular audio then, and not just the Dolby Atmos True HD English, DTS HD English 5.0 Dolby Digital. They
Hmm.
don't have just the regular stereo mix.
Wow.
5.0 only. Huh.
Hmm.
Interesting.
I know. You would think they would include, or who knows? Maybe they did have some like quadraphonic audio presentation back then, which
I mean, the movie's over 50 years old. It wouldn't surprise me if they took the original, because it's all positional audio. So all they're doing is taking the stereo left and right tracks and giving it some front depth or some rear depth, and that's it. It's
Yeah,
not like, well, I guess the Atmos one might have verticality, but the
right.
Blu-ray release that had the original 5.0 release, that might have actually even sounded better than the original stereo release, because then you actually have some of that panning and the forwards and backwards, distinction.
Yeah, I know, because once I get this office up and running, then I can also tell you if how good or bad the audio mix is, because it will be a full system.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Brad, and I'll probably have to look into it. If I can get the 4K copy for, not $20, I don't know. The only reason I'm even hesitant is because I already bought the digital copy, which sucks, because if I had known, I probably would have just spent the $20, got the physical version, and had the digital code with it already.
Yeah.
But now having to buy that, I don't know. This is one of the most like mixed movies for me that I've ever watched, because there's so much that's awesome about it, and there's so much that I'm just like, WTF, mate. I
Yeah.
don't really understand some of the decisions they made, but again, I wasn't alive during the time. I'm not watching it during that time, so like some of it is probably just like, yeah, whatever, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Anyway,
F&A Cotton.
pretty good production, excellent production, pretty good movie.
Yes.
Again, 70-ish, somewhere in the 70s% for me. What did I say? 3 out of 4 Ninja Turtles?
Yeah. Yeah.
3 out of 4 Ninja Turtles. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with regards to Ben-Hur?
Well, I know you mentioned Hamlet 2, but we also, in the newsletter that was sent out this morning, I did mention that we're watching Gladiator next week.
Yes. I was joking with Hamlet too. I think you should still watch it, but literally the only reason it's related to this in any way is that Steve Coogan dresses up like Jesus at one point, and they sing a song about it.
That's cool. Yeah, don't forget to join the stupid dog. Don't forget to join the Hidden Movie Club Substack, hiddenmovieclub.substack.com.
Yeah, and if you're one of our paid subscribers, we're going to do the giveaway because this is after the credits. So we're going to do a giveaway of Ben-Hur. So maybe if you win and decide you want Ben-Hur, maybe I'll get a copy of Ben-Hur too. And then everybody will be happy.
Including,
and if you already have it, and if you already have Ben-Hur, then you can pick one of our previous after the credits selections, or well, I guess, what is our next after the credits selection? Do we have that chosen yet?
I don't know if we do, actually.
We're gonna have to. That's probably one I'm gonna see in the theater, whatever that is, because I need to go back to the theater. Shout out, by the way, my wife and I just saw Project Hail Mary. Awesome movie.
Yay!
Awesome movie. Loved the book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I love Andy Weir as an author, but that movie killed it.
Yes.
Killed it. I wasn't sure. As soon as it started, I knew there were going to be changes, and I was like, uh-oh, they're deviating already, but I'm glad they did it the way they did it. So
yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
They focused on the parts that were important. I think that's what elevated it for me quite a bit. So
yeah,
that was cool. But yeah, if you want a copy of a movie that we've seen in after the credits, subscribe to the Substack, become a paid subscriber. We'll put you in the giveaway, and you can win some Steelbooks or some Blu-rays, or even just a gift card for wherever you purchase your movies and or Steelbooks from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be appreciated.
Elon, thank you for the wonderful discussion on a movie that it sounds like you weren't the hugest fan of, but you had a lot of positive things to say. It wasn't like a Secret of the Use. I think there's a lot of positive.
Hey, even you came around with Secret of the Use.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the first TMNT, definitely changed my mind. Definitely.
Yeah.
All
right,
driver.
Join us next Tuesday for Double Take, where Derek and I talk about something that is related to what we just watched for after the credits, so that's why we are watching Gladiator.
Yeah,
For
I heard
next
actually
Tuesday.
several comparisons or saw several comparisons online in various reviews that
Yeah.
Gladiator is basically Ben-Hur without the Jesus, or that
Yeah.
Ben-Hur is Gladiator with the Jesus, with the Christ, if you will.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, join us next week if you want to see us talk about Gladiator. Watch it this week if you want for some homework, because it's a great movie. You already know this, and but it's been a while since I've watched it myself, so I'm excited.
Yep. And since the Christ came out this weekend and saw his shadow, that means 6 more weeks of Hidden Movie Club.
Yay! Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter, everybody. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the comments. Elin, thanks for the discussion. You rock, brother. I love you. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday for Gladiator.
Woo! Bye.
Peace, everybody. Talk to you later.